Welcome. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach, and today we're talking about being frustrated. Being frustrated about mindfulness practices and how you can use curiosity to find your calm. Are you into mindfulness practices? I bet you are, because otherwise you wouldn't be here listening to this podcast. Are you also an ambitious, driven, task-oriented woman? Chances are that your regular mindful practices, if you have such, also comes with a plan in mind, and maybe even a strategic plan for personal growth. Are you also caught in the trend of spirituality and mindfulness and all the buzzwords, but can't seem to connect yourself with yourself any better than before? Maybe you end up frustrated and feeling alone because everyone else seemed to get it. Even though all this practice, you still run into challenges that takes you down and things don't seem to go according to plan. Maybe you even are suffering from the feature of comparison. I'm saying the feature because it is really a feature. It's almost like a movie playing out when you're comparing yourself with somebody else. So frustrating. And maybe even this takes you down to suffering from depression. I'll share a little story about someone I worked with a while ago that had a mindset that mindfulness could be put into a plan. See her in front of you. She is ambitious, driven, on top of things. She's a master multitasker, including her mindfulness practices. She had it all down, when to do certain meditations, when exactly to set intentions on the new moons, and she was journaling at least 20, 30 minutes a day and had all kinds of powerful exercises lined up. You may think, you've tried all kinds of things: yoga, meditation, manifestation courses, mindfulness stuff, healthy, clean eating, but still feel miserable. You may ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? And in this case, she had a careful put plan together and even a schedule. And she thought that she was on track and all geared up for taking herself to the next level. Can you relate to this? Is there any of truth in what I'm just saying that maybe is for you as well? This person, she had set herself up to grow and transform as a person on this personal growth spiritual path. But for her, it was like another check on the calendar. A check on the calendar done among everything else that she needed to do. Her plan was set, all set to manifest, and the bliss would arrive. So she thought. She got this. But with all that meditation and the most powerful and favorite mindfulness practices, she did not feel any different. She didn't feel any more connected to the universe. She was still feeling anxious. She was still feeling disconnected. She felt so frustrated. And you may be wondering why. Have you ever let mindfulness to become a project? A spiritual project with all the bells and mindfulness whistles that comes with it? It may be that you're missing this very important part. Maybe you're missing to be curious. Curious about yourself and what the lessons are that'll take you to that place of inner eternal calm. Today, we're talking about being frustrated about mindfulness practices and how to use curiosity to find your calm and return to your balance. When was a time you genuinely felt curious last? When were you up to something last? That feeling of, oh, I want to dive into this right here and right now. That feeling that you get when you're totally absorbed and time stands still and you're just in the moment. One of the things I'm very passionate about is to help others to explore ways to get out of the rut, to get out of the routine, the pre-made up plan made up by the mind that tells us to stay with what we know. When we get out of the rut, get out of our logical mind and live from a place of the heart and curiosity. Curiosity allows you to tap into your intuitive abilities that you actually already have, by the way, so that you can start relate to life from a different perspective. I've found that curiosity will keep you in a state of non-judgment. And if I'm curious about something, I don't put a boundary around it. I don't make up my mind about it just yet. I'm open to a new experience and learn more about something. Why do you think we as adults often don't allow ourselves to be curious anymore? Because it's so common that we as adults, we get into a pattern. We get comfortable with a habit or a way of living. And if we're trying to break a habit that was formed a long time ago, we get met with resistance, either from ourselves or from others or our environment even. I'm passionate to help you connect to your true self, your inner spiritual being, and bring out that expression of what curiosity and creativity, again, into your life so that it can come out in reality, so that you can see your life in a new light. So how about we do this? Are you with me? Let's stop right here. Right now, for a moment, take a deep breath, right here and now. And notice what comes up when I say, today I'm curious about, and what comes up for you. Today I'm curious about, what is it that comes up first? Notice that thought that just came up. How can you take action on that today? Just a little step, a little mini step towards exploring just that. You're just right now in a curious spot. So today in this show, I'll show you how you can spark those feelings of curiosity to help you get out of the rut, to get out of the same old thinking pattern, to step into a creative energy and find that inner eternal calm that you may be looking for, and help you release that frustration of maybe you feel you're not where you're supposed to be by now. So going back to the mindfulness practices, and like my client, why you may still feel that disconnection, even when you have a long list of mindfulness practices that you do regularly. It may be that you're relating to all of this mindful spirituality, all of those practices as a task. It may be that you're relating to it all as a task. For example, when you do go to the gym, or let's say you go to a gym, and what do you do right after you go to the gym mentally? Well, you may make a check in your calendar. Yep, did it today, done, right? Great. Do you do the same with, for example, meditation? Check yourself here. When you're done meditating, do you say to yourself, yep, I'm done with that. What's next? If you feel like meditation is a chore, something you have to do or have the urge to get better at, because you think, not until I get better at it, you get the reward and feeling your connection with yourself or whatever it is that you're seeking. Is it so that you're looking at your mindfulness practices as a chore? Are you ticking it off mentally? Okay, I did it, and what am I going to do next today? No, it's nothing like that. And this is where curiosity comes in. Shifting from viewing your mindfulness practices from being a task and something you need to do to being curious about your feelings, those sparks of inspiration, that instant insight that comes up in the moment and how you feel in the moment. And in the example of meditation, that you may want to know that you're doing it right or you want to get better at it. No, you can't get better at meditation. You can just meditate. And there is no timeline or a goal with meditation as you practice it. The benefits and the personal growth and change, however, comes as a gift when you're ready. What I'm talking about here is that when you start to feel that something is different in how you relate to yourself and others around you, that's when you know your mindfulness practices, including meditations, for example, is doing something for you. This kind of revelation has no timeline. It has no goal or can never be finished. So when you stop focusing on how many times per week you're meditated and start noticing a shift in yourself, for example, maybe you notice you're not lashing out in anger anymore when someone is pushing your buttons or buttons that has been sore spots in the past, and that you have no routine response in that or in a rut feeling anymore. That's when you know. It's when your internal experience and your curiosity start to help you, to connect you closer to who you truly are. That's when you know. It's pretty hard to plan that one out, right? And you can't put that in a plan and work towards it. It's an internal experience, a shift that happens internally. For me, it was not until I got back into meditation for the second time that internal change happened for me. But what was surprising was that I felt so much resistance as I was starting to dive into the practice of self-reflection. I was journaling a lot, I think over the course of at least a year and a half. And I started to discover that there's a life beyond having a well-put plan together and everything lined up. But I felt so much resistance through that process. And I was thinking, oh, this is too hard. I want to quit. And which is really what your ego, and it did to me as well, it was telling me when we want to quit, it's so much safer to go back to our old patterns. And in my case, it was just to put the blinders on and push ahead. But what I learned is that when we hit that resistance, that feeling of resistance, I don't want to do it anymore. Why am I doing this? When we're trying to go deeper with ourselves, that's when it's happening. And that's when we need to bring out that curiosity and ask ourselves, instead of quitting, we ask ourselves, what does this resistance mean? And for me, turning that resistance that I felt into curiosity was exactly what I needed in that moment, to go deeper. And because at the time, I had a terrible work-life balance. And what this question meant was that it was the beginning of my journey towards greater self-connection and self-love. I want to share a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert and one of my favorite books of hers, Big Magic. And I came across Big Magic during this very expansive time of self-reflection myself. And this really spoke to me very deeply because it let me off the hook in trying to, proceed and get ahead or whatever I felt I was on the path for. So let's see what this quote does for you. Take a break. Don't worry about following your passions for a while. Just follow your curiosity instead. It might lead you to your passion, or it might not. You might not get nothing out of it all except a beautiful long life where all you did was follow your gorgeous curiosity. And that should be enough too. So on this path, be soft with yourself through reminding yourself of that curiosity instead of the comparison, the frustration, and the push and the drive to a solution today, especially when you hit some major resistance or when you want to quit or when you feel like a failure, because we all do from time to that time. And you may feel any of this today. So let's get into what you can do if you want to bring some more curiosity into your life right now, to go easier on yourself and flow more with your day and return to your inner calm. The thing with curiosity is that it really has a smiley face on it. It comes right with it. It comes with curiosity comes the smiley face. And curiosity has this childlike vibe, this energy vibe to it. And it's an energy of expansion. So in any area that you feel stuck or in a rut, or just it feels like overwhelming or even plain boring, turn on the curiosity with asking yourself, what do I need today? And how do I want to react to this today? Do I need to react at all? And maybe ask yourself, how do I want to experience this situation differently? And what can I do differently? All of those questions keep you positive. It keeps the curiosity alive, and it brings you the energy of learning something about yourself instead of what we often resort to, which is criticizing ourselves or judging ourselves and others within a situation. So now let's go back to what I asked you a little while ago. And I asked you, today I'm curious about what? What was it that came up for you? Think about that for a moment now. So let's go a little deeper with this together. Now, I have a couple of questions for you to dig a little deeper on what you're curious about and what came up. Now, you can ask yourself, what are my options to explore this further? What do I need? Often that question, what do I need, is really bringing us into the present moment. And it speaks to you and your heart and what your heart needs, not necessarily to what your mind thinks you need. So notice that difference. One other question you can ask yourself is, how would a mindful response sound? Because often when we talk to ourselves, when we feel frustrated or it's not that nice of an internal talk, isn't it? But how would a mindful response sound? Another question you can ask yourself about the thing that you're curious about today is, how can I learn more about it? Now, I want you to listen for the answers here. Because this is mindfulness practice. These are the types of questions that sparks curiosity about yourself, that you can use to step away for a moment from the structured, step-by-step way of relating to what you want in life, to open up into a field of possibility and expand your view of what's possible and let go of the plan. Let go of that plan and how you want to proceed. One way, as I did, as I mentioned earlier, was to journal right after meditation and calling on these types of questions and free write to expand on your curiosity and openness to go where you haven't gone before. I'm thinking specifically about a meditation series that I put together for you, and in there is one meditation called All Possibilities Meditation, which is a meditation calling on your creativity and to bring you out into new possibilities. Check it out. I'm putting a link for you to this meditation series in the show notes below. And you can also find it on my website, newlightliving.com. So if you feel frustrated about your mindfulness practices, for example, like you've been into the space of mindfulness and spirituality for a while, but still feel you're not connecting with your true self or your inner essence, or far, far away from your inner calm, feeling that eternal inner calm, even after having practiced all kinds of mindfulness practices regularly for a while, I'm offering you today to consider an energy shift for yourself. From an energy of doing and what you're doing in terms of mindfulness and spirituality this week, to an energy of curiosity, free flow, and what you can learn about yourself this week. So think about that. Feel in that energy shift. Don't think so much, just feel it. Notice the energy shift if you completely and fully release your expectations on where you should be by now, and invite this energy of curiosity about what is. Because it's in this space of curiosity and in this open space of inspiration that artists are creating and writers are finding their words. So if you're curious about to take this further for today, try a new way of adding a layer of creativity and curiosity to your already structured, planned out day and see what happens. Maybe even adding that layer of curiosity to something that you already feel resistance to. And here are a couple of questions you can ask yourself. If you're stuck on something, ask yourself, what would I like to know about this that I don't know already? What am I curious about? And what can I learn from this situation? Those three questions just is going to bring you in some new energy, some new light on that area that you're stuck on. So what we've been talking about in the show today is how curiosity can take you out of a rut, take you to a place of invitation, openness, creativity when you feel frustrated about not being further along on your path. Because spirituality and mindfulness practices are not so much about doing a lot of different things. It's to ask questions of yourself and observe yourself. Listen for the answers and get curious about yourself. Feel and flow with the journey of being. And also curiosity calls on a higher vibration than what the energy of resistance does. So anytime you can call on curiosity when you feel stuck, when you feel frustrated, or any kind of resistance in a situation or towards someone, call on your curiosity. And remember this, that the timeline for your personal growth is not always the timeline you want it to be. So if you want to invite curiosity to your meditation practice, for example, I have recorded 5 meditations that also comes with the journal pages for each of the meditations, and that are created for self-reflection, inspiring you to an energy shift into curiosity. So check the show notes for the link or head over to newlightliving.com. And if you haven't joined the private Facebook group, New Light Living Podcast Community yet, head over to Facebook and join us there. This week, let's help each other stay curious. Share what you're curious about today. It may inspire someone to get out of their frustration and resistance and into curiosity. Thank you for tuning into this show today on New Light Living Podcast. So I so appreciate you being here with me. I hope this episode helped you to see your life in a new light in some way. Trust the process, do the work, and I'll be here next week with a new show for you. See you then.